What is up, everybody? Today is the NBA All-Star Game. This is Daniel Beltz, your host of King Watch LA, and we finally have some basketball after, 2 or 3 days off? The Lakers haven't played since, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday, so we've had a couple days off. The only player the Lakers have playing in tonight's All-Star Game is LeBron James. Anthony Davis will not be there playing tonight, so it's just basically a LeBron James-led Laker in the All-Star festivities tonight, and it's always fun when a Laker player plays in the All-Star game because we do attract the biggest stars in the NBA. So it's nice to see one of them play for the All-Star game, because we had, I believe, a 3-year stretch where we didn't have a Laker play. I believe it was 2016, 2017, then 2017, 2018. I believe LeBron might have played in 2018, the 19 All-Star game. So only a 2-year drought for an All-Star, so not too bad. I know a lot of other teams go through longer droughts than that. So it's just nice to have pretty much an All-Star in every single All-Star game. You want your best players. You want the stars playing in that exhibition game for whatever it's worth, even though this season I do not believe they should have had an All-Star game. I don't know what the hell they're doing putting the All-Star game in Atlanta. We see how Atlanta has kind of handled COVID with, you saw how many parties that were thrown last night, and you're seeing with Joel and Ben Simmons, their contact tracing. So it's just, this All-Star game is going to be a mess, but I mean, I guess the NBA still had to put it on. I didn't see the NFL got rid of the Pro Bowl, I believe. Just didn't make sense playing this tonight. You could have given players basically a week off with their family just to kind of chill instead of putting on this game. But we're here. We're 2 hours away from the All-Star game, so it'll be fun just to see anything. In my opinion, just, I don't know, kind of get bored without Lakers basketball, to be honest. And yeah, we'll be joined by TPJ later in the episode, so it'll be good to hear from him and hear his thoughts about what kind of happened today in the NBA with Blake Griffin going to Brooklyn and whatnot. And shout out to Mr. 4 accounts, 5 NBA teams, the man that does not pay up bets for Laker bets. Shout out to Automatic, who likes to talk tough but won't pay up to anybody. So it is what it is. Yeah, we're here. We're live. So it's going to be a very exciting night. I do not think LeBron James will win the All-Star Game MVP, but, I didn't think he'd play every game except one in the first 35, 36 games of the season. So you never know with LeBron. You never know if he's trying to send a message like he did, showing up to the arena with the championship ring, which was kind of cool. I like that. I like seeing the pettiness. I like seeing that side of LeBron James because it's cool to see him kind of act like he's still letting people know he's still the best player in the league. Not only should they have known that from last season's championship run, but he's still here. He's still the standard for excellence in the current NBA. All NBA players should be chasing him. Leading vote getter again. This is his 17th straight All-Star game, which is nuts. He's getting closer to, I believe it's either this year is the tie for Kobe and Kareem, or next year. Not sure if it's 18 or 19 that they have. I know LeBron's at 17 now, so it's just crazy to see. Again, free Lakers, All-Star legacy. It's just nice to see the All-Star legacy carried down from generation to generation of Laker players, which is what we want to see, because if we have those All-Star players, we're going to be most likely always relevant in the contention stages of the NBA Finals, and that's what we are. We are a top. We are the top of the top. You look at the success for the.
Yo, what up? I'm about to go grab some lunch, and I'll be right back. Sorry,
cool.
But we in the building. I just want y'all to know I might have converted to the dark side because I don't like this, bro. I don't like all of this clicking up, G. I don't want to see that. And I don't want to see none of that, bro. I don't want to see none of that.
Yeah.
None of that. None of that. None of that. Oh, dog. You feel me?
We will get to that later in the episode. But I do want to talk a little bit about Blake Griffin going to the Nets and what that means for what the Lakers might do or might do. So go eat and come back.
All right. Well, no, I'm here for a minute. I'm waiting on the foul.
You're here for a minute
right now. I got a couple minutes. Let's talk about it. How do you feel about it for the Nets?
For the Nets, I mean, cool. Do I think Blake Griffin will be out there on the floor when it's closing time? I don't think so.
What? Why?
If it's closing time, because I believe when it's closing time, you already have KD, Kyrie, you have KD, you have, I believe Bruce Brown should be on the floor in closing time. I don't want to see Bruce Brown off the floor in closing time. And then I also want to see Joe Harris. If Blake shows something, then yes, he can play. But I mean, Blake's there, in my opinion, to kind of
Brown over Blake Griffin.
That I want to see close games.
Tweet it.
That I want to see.
You wild as hell. Hell no. What?
You don't want to watch? Have you watched Bruce Brown play this year?
He's supposed to be on the floor over Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin is like was an all-star like 2 years ago. What?
During winning time, I want Bruce Brown out there. If Blake Griffin shows he just didn't really care about Detroit basketball and he was just vibing out there until he got released, then cool. If he shows you that he could play defense, if he shows you he can switch, play defense, and be the big they actually need,
you are nuts. DeAndre Jordan is their center right now. You're nuts. You're tweaking.
Listen, I like what Joe Harris and Bruce Brown.
Bruce fucking Brown out there on the floor. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching this, but you think, and I'm not talking about my mom either. Sorry, Daniel's mom, if you watch this. You think they gonna have Bruce Brown on the floor over Blake Griffin? That lineup out there is gonna be Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, and Blake Griffin. You are going to Tweakville right now.
And I'm not trying to shit on the Blake Griffin signing. I think he'll be huge for the.
How? What are you talking about, G? What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Blake Griffin was All-Star 2 years ago. What are you talking about? What? Bruce Brown? When did Bruce Brown become better than Blake Griffin? Please explain it to me. I see y'all in the comments. Explain to me when Bruce Brown became better than Blake Griffin. You're lying.
I'm not saying he's
You're lying.
He's not a better NBA player, but he might be a better NBA fit to close a game next to those kind of players. That's all I'm trying to say. In the non-KD, non-Kyrie, non-Harden minutes, Blake will be the better product on the NBA floor than Bruce Brown. But you put those three out there, I think Bruce Brown might vibe next to those three.
I ain't froze.
I like what Joe Harris and Bruce Brown give you next to that trio. If Blake Griffin can defend how he wants to.
They signed Blake Griffin to be a sixth man.
Maybe.
If this was Hoops and Brews, I would have got up and left out my house. I'm going to lunch.
Listen, I was
going to lunch before, but I'm really going to lunch now.
I just want to know about what AD and LeBron will do. If Blake Griffin can defend that five, go for it. If not, LeBron James will Blake Griffin and Kyrie hunt the entire game.
I'm sorry. If Blake Griffin not defending Anthony Davis, it's Kevin Durant defending Anthony Davis. What are you talking about?
Then who's Blake Griffin guarding?
Who else you gonna guard on now? Who else you got out there? What's your lineup? Tell me your lineup that's gonna beat the Nets lineup, please.
To close?
So eloquently, Daniel. Tell me what's your lineup, because you're lying.
The best big in the league, which is Anthony Davis. The best player in the league, which is LeBron James. We got Dennis Schroeder, a two-way player. And then hopefully KCP goes back to bubble KCP. And then after that, either Kuzma or I don't know. Yeah, probably Kuz.
This file is taking too long to bounce. You are tripping. Maybe. What? Contavious, you have James Harden, Kyrie Irving out there. Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, Splickety, all the time from three. What's wrong with you?
All we heard last year was Dame's going to do this. We heard CJ's going to do this. We heard James Harden's going to do this. We heard Russell Westbrook's going to do this. We heard Jamal Murray's going to do this.
All-star CJ McCollum. How many time All-Stars CJ McCollum? Christian James McCollum. How many time All-Stars he?
Put him in the East, he would have made it multiple times.
That's not what I asked you.
Hey, that's what I'm giving you. That's what I'm giving you. Put him in the East. Multi-time.
He loves to not answer the question. Answer the goddamn question. How many times All-Stars Christian James McCullough?
In the East, multiple.
0.
In the West, 0.
Blake Griffin is a 6-time All-Star. Put some respect on his name. You're tweaking.
I'm just saying, TJ McCollum in the East would have made an All-Star game.
What All-Star game Kyle Kuzma making?
None.
What All-Star game can Tavius Caldwell Pope make?
I don't know, but he's got a chip.
Dennis Schroeder ever made an All-Star game? Hell no.
No, and I don't think he ever will, but he was.
I don't know, but he got a chip.
Dennis Schroeder, baby. He's gonna. I just think he's gonna be playing very well in the playoffs next to AD and LeBron. If AD comes back 100%,
my friend, you do good dope.
I don't think any Laker fan.
Because
no Laker fan should be scared about what any other team is doing. If AD and LeBron James are 100% fully healthy, that's who we're rocking with. We shouldn't be afraid or ducking smoke from any of these other teams kind of ganging up.
Who's our third best player?
Third best player is Dennis Schroeder.
He better than Kyrie Irving?
I mean, if we're just going to go based off of is this a paper matchup or is it on the court matchup? Because if you want to go just check.
I'm never hanging this up on my wall. I'm taking that to my studio. You out of your goddamn mind. You out of your motherfucking mind. You've lost your goddamn mind, Daniel. You have lost. I'm sorry, children. Daniel's nephews, Daniel's mom. Y'all need to check on this man. Have an intervention. What?
We shouldn't be afraid of anybody. You gonna tell me Kobe and Powell should have been scared of the Spurs? When Lakers have dynamic duos, we don't need to be scared of anybody in the league.
The Spurs got the firepower this team got. The Spurs barely score 100 points.
Didn't the Spurs have Ginobili, Duncan, and Parker for all these years?
Why is this foul taking so long to bounce? What is wrong with you, Daniel? What is wrong with you?
Again, whatever the Lakers can do.
Who your fourth best player?
Fourth best player this year has been Kyle Kuzma.
He better than Blake Griffin?
Shit, I don't know.
Who y'all fifth best player?
Kyle Kuzma this season has been better than whatever. Kyle Kuzma this season has been better than Blake Griffin in Detroit.
Even better than Joe Harris? Lie to me. Sit there and lie to me. Sit there and lie to me.
I like Joe Harris.
All right, like they said, you are drunk, G. Shout out to Otto. Otto, how many goddamn Twitter accounts are you gonna have, G? You done had like 12, 6. What do you be saying to get you taken out of the Twitter game where you got a new Twitter account every 5 seconds, Otto G? Get yourself together. Shout out to Otto. You are tweaking, though. You tripping. You tripping. I'm going to get up with you later. You talk that bullshit to them because I'm finna go eat. I'll holler at you later.
All right, see you. What I'm saying is I'm not going to say the Lakers have a better, if you're going to list 1 through 5, they don't have a better 1 through 5. But again, basketball's not always about your 5 best players and their individual talents. It's how that talent kind of comes together. You look at last season's Lakers. Did they have the best talent out west, top to bottom? No. But did it make sense when it all came together with certain roles that each player had to fill? Yes. Because if you have LeBron and AD, everyone else just needs to be a role player. You have LeBron James, who is one of the greatest players of all time, who will initiate the offense every single time down the court. He will hunt mismatches. Do the Nets have players that can hunt mismatches? Yes, because they have 3 of the greatest individual ISO players of all time with Kyrie, James, and KD. But what happens in the playoffs when those ISOs don't go as well as they normally do? Because you look at players that can kind of fill up the stat sheets and do whatever on offense, some of those shots stop falling in the postseason. And then you got to rely on what you can do defensively. And does this Blake Griffin signing help defensively? I don't know. If he goes back to the kind of playing how he did in LA in his first couple months in Detroit, where he kind of looked like that MVP player. I don't know if it was the beginning of 2018 or if it was 2019, but he was amazing his first couple games in Detroit. So I'm just saying, let it play out on the court of what the Lakers actually do. Because again, the Lakers will shrink their rotation come playoffs. Like it's going to dwindle. You'll see AD slide over to the 5. So those questions about a backup 5 and what we're going to do at the 5 kind of go away. Then you have to look at the Nets. What will they do with AD? If AD is 100% healthy, is Blake Griffin going to guard AD? Is KD going to guard AD? Can KD guard KD? Or can KD guard AD? What's DeAndre Jordan giving you? There are a lot of variables still left on this thing. That's why, yes, the Nets look great on paper. On paper, they look amazing. Like, they're a really fun team to play with in the NBA 2K. Like, I'm not trying to diminish what the Brooklyn Nets have. Joe Harris, Bruce Brown, tremendous players. And yes, I will stand. Bruce Brown should be in closing lineups. You've watched how he's played this season. He deserves to be in that. Unless Blake Griffin shows you he can defend. Because Bruce Brown, you can't hunt him in a mismatch on the other side of the court. He can defend 1 through 3/4. Like, he is a very capable NBA defender, and he should get the love that he gets. If he was a Laker, he'd be getting a lot more pub, basically, in my opinion, because he just does all the little things very well, makes the right cuts, will knock down an open shot or two, and doesn't really need much of anything to be a positive factor on the floor. That's why I kind of rock with Bruce Brown if you're next to KD, Kyrie, and Harden. That's why I'm saying have him on the court so then Blake Griffin can take up all the minutes where KD, Harden, or Kyrie need to rest, and you can run your offense through him. That's where that line of thinking is. Kind of how the Lakers should have done it with Montrez if Vogel made it easier for the offensive sets. You see the Lakers kind of struggle with running sets sometimes. Sometimes all they'll have on the court as a ball handler is Kyle Kuzma, so we're not putting Trez in the correct spots if we're having both Dennis and LeBron off the court at the same time. Like, to me, that doesn't make sense. Not having a ball handler that can set up for anyone on the court doesn't make sense. That's why I don't know if the Lakers go for another ball handler at the buyout deadline. They go for another wing, or they go for another backup big. And we will get to later in the show options for buyouts. But Laker fans complaining about what the Nets are doing, Laker fans worried about what the Nets are doing. You have to be a fairly young Laker fan to be complaining about what the other team has when we have a dynamic duo. When Shaq and Kobe were together, it was pathetic if you thought other teams had more talent, depth, and we didn't have a chance to win. Like, that was just kind of like loser mentality, and like, I don't know why you run from the smoke. When we saw this duo lift the Lakers to their 17th championship, not even 6, 7, 8 months ago. Like, we've seen them turn it on when it needs to be turned on. So why do we need to be worried about what other teams are doing when we just need to focus about maybe looking for another wing or two that can help us come playoff time? Last season, Markieff Morris was a huge addition to our team because he turned into that stretch 4/5 when either AD slid over to the 5 or when AD needed a break, he went to the 5. Like, he was a very important piece the Lakers got last season and ended up costing nothing. This season, you don't know. You don't know if the Lakers look to move Montrez because they're not going to pay him next season, or if they do pay him next season, they'll obviously keep him and look into other avenues, like maybe waiving Kostas, all these other players. It just has to work financially. A big reason why the Lakers did not get Blake Griffin is because the Nets had more money to offer Blake Griffin. We, I believe, had the least amount of money to offer Blake Griffin out of all the 4 other contending teams that had money to sign Blake Griffin. So it's not Blake Griffin chose the Nets because he automatically thinks they're going to win. It made sense both contending and financially for him. So that's why, in my opinion, Blake went there. And good for Blake. He gets to get the hell out of Detroit. Who the hell wants to live there? But yeah, it's just, I don't get the Lakers fans scared of Blake Griffin in 2021. If he looks like he did in the Clippers, then yes. But if he's been how he's been, even if he's a little bit better than what he's been in Detroit, again, we still have LeBron and AD. Dennis has been playing well. Kuzma stepped up. We have people that can play meaningful, impactful minutes, and you won't kind of we have players that play better than what their stats show on the court. Whereas other teams, the stats tell the whole thing. For us, stats don't tell a lot for a lot of our players. Hopefully KCP just gets back to wherever he was the second half of last season and for the entire bubble. Maybe he just needs time away from basketball because the Lakers have been playing almost nonstop since October of 2019. We had 71 days off after a championship, right back to basketball. Even they had, 2 months off during the first 2 months of COVID, right back to basketball. So they haven't had much of anything of a break. And you hear Markieff Morris talk about how mentally challenging it is to be this locked in for that amount of time, basically, as a NBA team. Like, it's crazy from October 2019 to now. It's only been a year and a half or a season and a half, but it feels like an eternity for what they've gone through with being locked up in Orlando for 5 months, basically. So this All-Star break is good for the entire Lakers roster because it gives AD a week of no games to kind of get that leg healthy. I have no idea when he'll get back, and that's like another topic we'll get into right now is the possible AD return timeline. It's obvious the Lakers are not ever going to win a championship if AD's not AD. If he's not who he is or he's not even playing, we don't have a chance to win a championship. Can LeBron and company go far in the playoffs without AD, maybe win a series or two? Yes. Can they win the entire thing without him? No. So when people say this Lakers championship depends on AD's health, well, obviously you can't win. No team in NBA history can win a championship with their first or second best player being out. That's just common sense. Magic was able to do it in 80 for one game because Kareem was out. Can you do it a whole series? Hell no. You cannot win a series like that in the NBA Finals. So, I don't know. Thoughts on AD returning? I don't think he returns the first week after All-Star. I think he'll sit a couple more games. I haven't heard much of him on the court work-wise. You don't want to rush him back either. You want that leg to heal 100% because we're going to need him at 100% to beat not only the Nets, but probably the Clippers, probably the Jazz. AD loves playing Rudy Gobert. He loves to put on a statement. You see all the other bigs in the NBA love to play Rudy Gobert as well. You see Jokic, Embiid putting up monster numbers. You saw what AD did to Rudy Gobert in the bubble when he hit that step back three to kind of send the game just out of reach. You see these players kind of take individual matchups personally. I believe that's AD with the Jazz. And then also with the whole Donovan Mitchell, LeBron, Rudy Gobert beef going on, I do want to see the Lakers play the Jazz in the NBA playoffs. I really don't care about the Utah Jazz fan base after kind of the shit they gave Derek Fisher and his daughter with the eye issue that happened 2008 when or 2007, 2006 when Derek Fisher left the Jazz to come back to LA. Jazz fans were very kind of very mean to Derek Fisher about that, and I just haven't rocked with the Jazz fan base since then, and they've shown a lot lately and in recent memory of how they kind of regard certain NBA players. I would love a Lakers-Jazz series because not only do I think it'll be good ratings-wise, I do think it'll be good for the Lakers to kind of get that challenge. They're a very good team. Yes, we like to make fun of the Jazz. Yes, who the hell ever wanted to play with the Utah Jazz growing up as a kid on any sort of gaming system? I will say now on NBA 2K21, when you can like download rosters, one of the first players I always try to look to assemble if I'm doing like a 2005 roster is Andre Kirilenko. He was ahead of his time for where the NBA is now. And that's one of the players I try to like take away from the Jazz and build my team around. He's just fun as hell to play with. But I do think the Lakers kind of need that wake-up call in the playoffs because the Jazz run a very good offensive set. They have your guys' defensive player of the year, not mine, but that's neither here nor there. They also have Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench, who is a Laker fan favorite. It's great to see Jordan Clarkson kind of have the success that he's having. And almost every single Laker fan will tell you they saw that role happening for Jordan Clarkson. Is he a starter? No. Does he play starter minutes? He should. He plays a lot better off the bench. You kind of heard Montrezl Harrell talk about that, how they prefer just kind of getting a feel for the game. And then once they're in the game, just going 100% and then going 100% as often as they can until they get taken out. They do very well in that role. And for championship teams to have a chance, you need a player like that. You saw what Lamar Odom did for us back in 2009, 2010. You saw what Ginobili did for the Spurs. You see what Harden did for the Thunder way back when. And then you just kind of see, you look around the league, a lot of them have a good 6th or 7th man coming off the bench, providing meaningful minutes. This season, the Lakers have both Trez, Kuz, and Dennis is starting, but I still think of Dennis in that role as players that just play fast, hard, can put up stats in a hurry, and that's just where they live. That's like their little category of NBA players, and almost every single team that's going to be a championship contender needs. And that's what I think Blake Griffin will be in Brooklyn. That's what I think the Nets would do very well to have, because for the games KD's not going to be playing, he'll probably start. But when KD's back, I think Blake Griffin comes off the bench or he starts based off of if he shows you he still has more legs or more in the tank than what he's shown in Detroit. Again, he's He's almost a way more valuable, impactful player than Nicholas Batum. If you kind of like get the reference to Batum looked washed in Charlotte, then he went to the Clippers and he looks like a new NBA player to me. He looks like what he used to look like. If Blake Griffin can kind of go from Detroit to Clipper net, then that kind of makes you think Rob Pelinka should make a couple moves, which, again, I would love to see them pick up another wing or maybe even another ball handler or a backup 5. It just depends on where this team thinks THT can impact them or help them or not. THT gets lost on defense too much for my liking to kind of trust him in that role. This is why I wanted THT to play last year, so he can kind of get those hiccups out of the way. So this year he would kind of understand where he needs to be on defense, because Vogel is a very disciplined defensive coach, and he will be fine with missed shots. He will not be fine with missed defensive assignments. He will take you out of the game if you miss a couple of defensive assignments. And that's where THT kind of falls under right now. He seems to leave the wrong guy open for 3 every single time on the switch or the closeout. And like you saw when we played the Nets, Joe Harris, TLC, all these guys made wide open 3 after wide open 3, and we got ran out the paint. But if AD is 100%, if Anthony Davis is who we traded for, 18 months ago, if Anthony Davis is the guy we saw in the bubble last year, if Anthony Davis is the guy who we saw last year, if he's even the player that was shown at the beginning of the season, even towards the middle when he was still putting up 22 and 9 or 8, we'll be all right, especially if he's even more healthy than he was to begin the season. You can't game plan for a player like Anthony Davis if LeBron James is next to him and they're both 100% healthy. They can beat you in the pick and roll. If Anthony Davis gets hot from the mid-range, it's a wrap. If he goes back to hitting the 3 at a more regular basis than what was shown towards that second half of the season so far, look out. It's just, we have AD coming back. Don't know when. It'll definitely be before the NBA playoffs. But after that, I can't really tell you a prediction. It'll be fun going back to watching a superstar duo. I've missed Anthony Davis on the basketball court, so as a team, I've missed his defensive presence. I do think where NBA fans kind of lose me in NBA conversations when they solely rely on spreadsheets and ratings to kind of define what Anthony Davis means to the defensive side of the ball. If you're telling me Anthony Davis isn't our top defender on this team, because you're looking at a spreadsheet. I do not want to talk basketball with you. I do think Anthony Davis is one of the most talented NBA defenders in the game today and in general, like ever. If you're looking at a spreadsheet to tell me why Anthony Davis has been just trash on defense, I don't care. Like, cool. Like, good for you. Good for you going to Basketball Reference and pulling up a defensive rating. I'm glad you know how to work a computer, but I don't care about defensive rating at all. Because I know when it's winning time, when it's playoff time, he is our best defender. We saw it last season. That's why we advocated for him to be the Defensive Player of the Year last year. You don't need to use defensive rating as your end-all, be-all for a argument. People advocating for LeBron James to be the Defensive Player of the Year because of his defensive rating. Why? You should be able to present your argument in a much better fashion than just, oh, he's this. Because you can equally turn that around and find out that for whatever reason, I believe it's Montrez or someone else has a higher offensive rating than LeBron James this season. Are you telling me that Montrez is a better offensive player than LeBron James? Hell no. So, like, why are we even talking about defensive ratings, stat sheets when it's actual NBA like discourse? Like, they're cool for they're cool to kind of back up your argument. They shouldn't be your main argument. And that's where I kind of hate talking basketball with certain people that just bring up that as their main argument. And they're just like, oh, well, he's this. Okay, cool. You're going to provide context, or are you just going to bring me another number from another website that backs whatever you have to say? Because even with AD hobbled on one leg, he was still a very good NBA defender when he was able to get down the court. Yes, transition. Why we got killed earlier in the season is both AD and LeBron. LeBron never likes to get back on defense if it's a missed call on the other side. And then if AD is not 100% getting back, we were getting killed in transition. A lot of points at the rim. And that's why, even though we won most of those games, they were very close. But like when we needed to stop, when they actually looked like they cared about playing the entire team, it was clear the presence Anthony Davis provides to that defense, and it's clear to where he stands as a defender in the entire league. He is, if not the top, very damn near the top. And that's just my opinion. But let's go on to another topic tonight. Will LeBron go for All-Star Games MVP? Can he win All-Star Game MVP? Yes, because the ball will be in his hands. It's Team LeBron. He wore his ring to the game tonight, so he could be looking to send a message, or he can kind of just chill because he's played he's only had one game off in I don't know however many months this season has been. He played every single playoff game last year, and I believe the games before that, it was the seeding games that he took off. I believe it was one or two, and the games in the bubble before the playoffs, which don't know why they played them, but okay. So he could be looking to just rest during this game. He's just out there to make an appearance. You never know. He and Silver, he had those comments about Silver and like, why are they even playing the game? He doesn't really want to be out there at the All-Star game, but it is what it is. So you kind of don't know where his head at is with playing this game. Will he go for MVP? Of course, he can win MVP. I just don't think he will. But it'll just be cool to see him play in his 17th All-Star game. He'll remember these All-Star games going forward. Does it really matter now to him? Hell no. But looking back when he's retired and whatnot, probably have fond memories of playing in each of these All-Star games. And I guess that's a saving grace of these All-Star games is the stars come together. They get to spend a couple days together during this COVID season. They landed yesterday or Friday, so they don't really have can't really hang out during this time, nor should they, based off of if they want to finish the rest of the season, what's going on with the Sixers right now. You look at the Raptors and what they've gone through the past week or two. So you don't know. Will an All-Star Game MVP matter or boost LeBron's legacy at all? Hell no. There's nothing he can do in the regular season or this that will boost his legacy, in my opinion. His legacy will be defined come playoff time. So does this All-Star Game matter at all to the conversations with LeBron James? No. Would it be cool to add another All-Star Game MVP to his mantle? Yes, but no one brings up All-Star Game MVPs for greatest players of all time. Like they're cool to like show like, oh, this person won it, but who cares? Normally they try to give the hometown player the All-Star Game MVP. I don't believe the Hawks have a player playing tonight because I don't think Trae Young made it, and I'm not sure who an Atlanta native is that is playing tonight. But I just don't think LeBron James gets that All-Star Game MVP. He can have a great performance, but he has bigger things to worry about down the road. I do think he will just have a very business-like aspect to showing up there, playing a couple minutes, getting some rest, come back in the second half, do the same thing. Let some of the younger guys play a little bit more. That's where I think this All-Star Game goes, is it goes towards the players that either A, didn't play in the bubble last season, or B, younger players like Zion, etc. Players that just what's it called? Just Jaylen Brown is from the area, so maybe, and he falls under. He didn't play that much in the like that far into the bubble last season, and wait, actually, did the Celtics make the Eastern Conference Finals last year? I don't really keep up with Celtics. I just enjoy watching them lose and not making trades for players that they should make trades for. But it would be cool to see. I actually am a fan of Jaylen Brown in his game. Loved him at Cal. I actually picked Cal to go far in that NCAA tourney when he was there. I believe it was Ivan Rabb that kind of sat out that tournament way back when. And they didn't, I don't know if they even advanced after the first or second round, but if Jaylen wins it, cool. No quarrels with Jaylen Brown. And I do think that kind of fits into A, didn't go far in the bubble, or B, young players. I do think young players will kind of like show out in this All-Star Game, because that's just where I think the league is at right now. They want to showcase young talent. I don't think any young player will kind of like have a reserve with playing more minutes in this All-Star Game. I can see some of the other statesmen in the league, like a Kawhi, like a LeBron, kind of say, hey, like, it's cool. I don't need to play more than 20 minutes tonight. Let these young guys go. Let these young guys show what they're capable of. And that'd be cool to see. So you even have, DeMontis, Sabonis in this All-Star Game. And, yeah. I'm going to look up who the odds-on favorite is to win the All-Star Game MVP tonight. I mean, you could see Giannis going for it as well. He can just fill up the stat sheet like that. Let's see. Favorite pick is, I guess they're still saying LeBron has the best chance to win MVP tonight. But also Joel Embiid's right after him. Joel Embiid's been having one hell of a season, an MVP-like type MVP season. But now with whatever contact tracing he's going to have to go through, we'll see when he gets back. And then the long shot pick tonight is Zach LaVine, and he falls under both categories as of didn't go far into the bubble last season and also a young player. So, he has a 50-1 odds, so that's nuts. After LeBron James goes Embiid, Curry, Kawhi, Harden, Kyrie, Luka, Dame, Beal. So like tonight, Bradley Beal, surprised he's not higher on the odds for the All-Star Game, just because of how he's kind of been not slandered, but like hasn't gotten the love from the NBA as much as he's wanted to get. So he could be looking to make a statement tonight. That's something that I could see happen, because, I mean, if you're a Wizards player, this is your championship, in my opinion, the All-Star Game. Will you be around when playoffs happen? Probably not. They have been surging as of late, but they start too far back before they made that push. You never know. And we'll talk about who the Lakers might potentially try to get through either buyout or trade. Blake Griffin's not there anymore. He's with the Brooklyn Nets. That's a name that was kind of buzzing as of the last 24, 48 hours when he agreed to a buyout with the Pistons. But now that he's gone, you look around the league and you wonder what the Cavs are going to do with Andre Drummond. You wonder what they'll do with Kevin Love as well. I'm not advocating for either of those. I'm just naming names. You look into, you see PJ Tucker, you see Trevor Ariza, you see Victor Oladipo. You see these other players from around the league. Let me look at all potential buyout candidates. But one that I do think they'll explore is I do think they'll explore Hassan Whiteside and see what the Kings do with him. Do I want Hassan Whiteside or not? That's the conversation for a different day. Do I think they have bigger needs than Hassan Whiteside? I do. But if they get Hassan Whiteside, cool. That's where I'm at with almost all of these players that we're going to be talking about right now, because do I think the Lakers can win a championship right now with the roster they have? Yes. Can they make improvements and win? Yes. So that's where my mentality is with this Lakers team. They're as talented as needed when their duo is healthy. When their duo is not healthy, you see all these role players that they signed having to do more, and that's not what we signed them for. We signed them to fill a exact, specific, very little role, because we have two of the best players in the NBA playing on one team that can do it all, both offensively and defensively. Why I love LeBron and AD is they can set the tone both on offense and on defense. They can kill you from anywhere on the court. They can do it on both sides. And that's why I like this team. That's why no one should be worried about losing back-to-back going into the All-Star break. No one should be worried about the 4-game losing streak earlier in the season. We have the depth. We have the talents needed when it's winning time. Like, you see Caruso with LeBron and AD, and you see Caruso without LeBron and AD. And it should just tell you how talented both AD and LeBron are, because they can make all these players look that much better next to them. And that just kind of adds to their legacy. And again, it takes a certain type of player to play well next to them as well, because they need to be unselfish. They need to do all the little things, and they have to step up in the moment when their number is called. A lot of players can't do that. A lot of players need rhythm to kind of stay in that kind of zone, where if they're not touching the ball consistently on offense, they kind of lose kind of their edge on defense, and they kind of just start making mental lapses or kind of not trying. And that's like the human element, the element aspect of basketball is, can you play certain amount of times, certain amount of minutes without even touching the ball or taking a dribble? That's kind of what happens with Caruso at times, kind of what happens with KCP, kind of what happens with Wes Matthews, because we're not going to them to look to initiate offense. We're going to LeBron James, we're going to Dennis Schroeder, we're going to Anthony Davis. Can these players stay mentally ready in the moment and also play very well? That's the role players we have outside of AD, LeBron, and Dennis. Take those players away. Now these players have to do things they're not accustomed to and not asked to do on a nightly basis. That's why the first game without what was it, when Montrez started, when Gasol was out, Montrez looked way in over his head, in my opinion. And it's not his fault. It's just he shouldn't be asked to play the 5 against a big. Like, it's just like an actual big, no. A 4-5, sure, but an actual 5, no. He should not be asked to guard a 5 for extended minutes more than like 4. Because if we're doing that, we're kind of losing his edge, which is speed with the opposing matchup. But potential buyouts are what? Let me see. Potential. I would like Ariza. I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but as a Laker fan in 2009, I loved Trevor Ariza. So like, if he came back, cool. Even if he was trash, cool. Like, I want to see Trevor Ariza retire as a Laker. That's just me. Same with Powell, even if it's just for a day. I want to see Laker players that win titles kind of get there and just retire as a Laker for even just a day. And that's kind of what I like. Do I think the Lakers make a big trade, like a big trade? No. The Oladipo thing is kind of interesting because you don't know how Houston thinks of Oladipo. I do not think Oladipo gets bought out, but they will look to trade him because he is worth something. Derrick Rose already went back to the Knicks, so that's one that's gone. Like I said, Trevor Ariza is a wing that can kind of defend and shoot the three, which is what this Laker team needs. We need players that can do that. George Hill is a buyout candidate. I don't know if the Lakers go after a George Hill. Just depends on where they see THT, Caruso, KCP, Wes Matthews, kind of those players stepping up. I do think Wes is better than what he has shown. I think Wes is just struggling and going through a shooting slump because I don't even know if he scored a total of 10 points in the last 5 games. I just think he's going through a bit of a slump, and hopefully this All-Star break kind of wakes him up after that. So George Hill would be cool. But if not, cool. Otto Porter Jr. is also a name that the Bulls, I guess, are throwing out there as a potential buyout candidate. Don't know why. I actually like what Otto Porter Jr. brings to a team, but gee, his salary is nuts. I don't think we'll actually have enough to kind of afford that after the buyout. Because like you saw with Blake Griffin, we couldn't afford Blake Griffin's salary because of the Nets had more money. We're hard capped. So we shall see. And then there's Tony Snell as a potential buyout candidate, but like you never know. We'll see. So these are players they might go after. These are just some of the buyout candidates. PJ Tucker, I think, in my opinion, is the most interesting one because he's kind of looked washed in Houston this season, but you saw him in previous season where he was as an important piece as anyone not named James Harden, in my opinion, or Russell Westbrook, or CP3. After that, he's as valuable as any other player on that Houston Rocket team. This year, again, you don't know if it's just he's uninterested because they're really not playing for anything. They're a lottery team, and vets at that stage of their career don't really want to lose, and they want to compete for a championship. That's why PJ Tucker was in Houston. That's why Blake decided to stay with Los Angeles, because he thought he was going to at least be part of a playoff team for years to come, not being shipped off to Detroit. You have no idea what Drummond is, where he's at mentally, whether they trade him or wherever they buy him out. You just have no idea. So it'll be interesting to see with more news to come, probably within, I don't think the news drops tonight, but I do think Monday and Tuesday, I think we'll start to hear more of buyout news, because I believe the deadline's by the end of the month, as well as the NBA trade deadline. So again, the last player I think that was either traded or signed during a All-Star game was DeMarcus Cousins. I believe that happened when he went from the Kings to the Pelicans. But yeah, I'm just very excited to see where Rob Pelinka kind of is at with where he thinks he can improve this team. They can still give Dennis Schroeder an extension. And you'll see what they kind of – if you see the Lakers cut Kostas and cut someone else, you kind of realize they're going to go after a player, because we don't really have an open roster spot at the moment, I believe. Alfonso McKinney, we'll see what he can give us the rest of the NBA season. The minutes he's played, he's looked well. He looks like a high energy guy that can shoot the three and kind of play defense, but can he do it consistently? Can he do it when it's winning time? He really didn't do that for the Warriors in the playoffs for that stretch where he played. With Damon Jones, he looked very well in the short minutes that he played in both the games. The back thing was a little weird, where you're getting hurt that kind of quick into your debut with the team, but we'll see if they pick up his 10-day or not. Very, very interesting times for Laker fans, because like I said earlier, this team can win a championship with the team in my opinion. I might be wrong, but just in my opinion, I think they can. I think this team works when AD's at the 5, and judging it without AD sliding over to the 5 is kind of where NBA fans got messed up last season because, Dwight's going to play this amount of minutes. No, AD's going to slide over to the 5 when it matters in the postseason. Why are you guys kind of saying, that they're winning games, but they haven't beat top competition? When the Lakers kind of adjust the rotation and play the kind of brand of basketball they're going to play in the playoffs, that's who I'm rocking with. That's basically the same thing I said last year, because even before the playoffs started and it was after the seeding games, you had a lot of people pick against the Lakers because they didn't know where points or defense would come outside of AD and Bron. You're hearing the same things again. Why not just let the two of the greatest players in the NBA figure it out, which they did last season, and the head coach with Vogel, figure out the rotations, AD slide over to the 5. If he's 100% healthy, cool. If they want to get PJ Tucker, cool. Kuzma will probably be in some of these trade scenarios that you'll hear if certain players show interest in wanting to go to the Lakers, because that's just what Kuzma's been since he's joined the Laker. His name's always been in trade conversations, but it seemed to affect him mentally. And so we'll see where the Lakers look to improve. Again, it's either point guard, wing, or a big 5. They're not going to get a 4. They're not going to get a 2. It's either 1, 3, or 5, in my opinion. Wes and KCP, cool. It's either 1, 3, or 5 as the positions they're going to look at. And if I had to rank, it'd be 3, 5, 1 as a matter of most importance. Because once you get to the playoffs, I don't think LeBron James or Dennis Schroeder will have the ball out of their hands for that much, basically. So, going to be wrapping this up soon. I'm going to actually ask TPJ where he is, just see if he's still looking to hop on or not. Because pretty much gone through almost whatever I wanted to talk about today, but obviously there's more stuff to talk about, like Montrez. Do I think the Lakers move on from Montrez? What Montrez has brought to the team, I've actually liked. It's just when we ask him to do things we shouldn't be asking him to do, that's where the flaws kind of show. Like I said, with guarding centers, no one needs to be asking Montrezl Harrell to guard a center. We can get away with Montrez at the 4 when AD is the 5, or you can kind of get away with Trez at the 5 next to smaller centers that are A4 and 5, which I kind of talked about earlier. You shouldn't ask Trez to guard Jokic, to guard Embiid, to guard Ayton. Like, that's just why. Like, wingspan alone, why are we putting him in situations where he won't succeed? Like, against the Suns, we should have asked Damon Jones to kind of start and have Trez come off the bench, because that was actually a winnable game. And I think if they made those just small adjustments, they could have actually won that game. But I don't know. Even with the King game, just why didn't Trez play more against smaller 5s? Like, I don't know. You play him against Ayton, you bench him against Bagley. So I'm just like, what are we doing here? But again, these games really won't matter once playoffs come around. This team, again, AD will be sliding over. So if the Lakers can use Montrez smarter on offense at the 4/5 whenever he's in, I would like to keep Trez. I think what he brings to a NBA team isn't you can't find a lot of 4 or 5s that can actually do that, can kind of have the energy where he has. For as undersized as he is, when he plays big, he gets a lot of rebounds. He can score at the rim. Yes, sometimes he gets blocked a lot just because he's trying to dunk over taller guys, but that energy, you kind of pick it up. You kind of see players try harder when they see that. Like, oh, shit, like Montrez just tried to dunk on somebody. You kind of feel that buzz, and that's what he brings to this NBA team. I don't like when he takes spot-up shots. I don't like when he just takes that mid-range shot. If he's getting the ball late at the end of the shot clock, he has to put it up. But if it's 13, 14 seconds and you haven't taken a dribble and you're just sizing someone up and then you shoot over him, there's just a better basketball play than that. And you kind of see him in the pick and roll. We started to do that more in the, King game? Yes, the Kings don't play any defense, but you can kind of hope to roll that over in the second half of the NBA season, because you want to just get players easy looks. You want to put players in position where they're going to get easy looks. And that's an easy look for Trez because he likes that little flip shot in the paint coming off the pick. It's just a very efficient shot for him. It's a very easy shot for him, and it's something he does well. And it's something he and Dennis can both kind of feed off each other with. We just need Dennis to kind of stop the careless turnovers that he has, because for as good as Dennis is, and I say this all the time, he plays so well to have those mental lapses that he does. To me, it doesn't make sense. You'll see him play very hard on the defensive side, initiate offense. The hesitation into a jumper that he has is beautiful. But then you'll see him struggle with bounce passes. And I'm like, I see you lock up Steph Curry on one end, go on the other end, you just hit a mid-range shot after a fake hezzy. But the next time down, you can't do a simple pick and roll pass. That's where I'm just like, it doesn't make sense. He plays so well and then has just the few minor errors that might catch up with us in the playoff time, because you can't be throwing, like, turnovers are okay. It's just they can't be unforced and they can't come off of a simple bounce pass. And that's where I kind of get a little bit frustrated with Dennis Schroeder. But he and Trez look to have great chemistry when they're actually on the court together. They can run that pick and roll. So it's just putting Trez in situations for himself to succeed. And has Vogel done that to the best of his availability? No. Do they need maybe a more offensive-minded assistant coach to come off the bench and kind of help the Lakers kind of get easier looks for these highly talented NBA players? I think so. I don't know who to get, but I mean, there's just has to be easier looks than the simple sets that we're running. You look at the Kings. The Kings got a lot of wide open looks. We played the Suns. They got a lot of wide open looks to where we're not getting them as often as the other teams are. Whereas we're getting close looks to them, but it's either A, contested, B, way too far into the shot clock, or C, it comes unnaturally. Like maybe we get a wide open shot off of just like a missed deflection or whatever. So that's just kind of, I see these NBA teams that are playing against us get a lot of wide open looks, and then we go down on the other side of the court, and it doesn't look as fluid as that. But again, when AD or LeBron's there, it looks a lot more fluid. So, and their minutes are going to ramp up to 38, 37 come playoff time, like they did last year. So trying to judge what this Laker team does without AD or LeBron is crazy. Trying to judge all these players when AD is not there, it's kind of hard to do since AD is going to be here the next 4 or 5 years. So yeah, that's where I'm at mentally with this Laker team. Do they keep Trez? He's a clutch client, so I think they actually do. I don't think they look to move on from Trez unless they know the player they're trading him for can actually help this team this year win. They're not going to be making a move to help this team next year win. Any move the Lakers make this season will be to improve their title chances. And yeah, that's where I'm at. This has been Daniel Beltz with King Watch LA. Very excited to keep continuing to talk Lakers basketball with all of you guys, Hoops and Brews. I can't thank you guys enough for kind of giving me the giving me this platform to speak and whatnot. And yeah, I definitely want Anthony Davis to come back healthy and kind of end the season on a high note, because we're at our best when AD is there. We're at our best when LeBron's there. And a lot of the slander with Anthony Davis got a little high from certain fan bases and whatnot. And yeah, again, this has been Daniel Beltz with King Watch LA. Make sure you guys follow, subscribe, like on both YouTube, Twitter, and all that. And we will see you guys next time.